Hi guys, welcome. Hope you're all doing good. Welcome to another session of News in 30 minutes. Today, let us look at some of the important issues on the Saturday, that is the 10th, as well as today, that is the 11th on Monday of February 2024. Let us get on right with it. The first issue is an article that is written about India and UAE partnership. Okay, so a privileged strategic partnership without a Gulf. Among India's strategic partnership agreements, none displays more convergence and mutual respect at all levels than the one with United Arab Emirates. So this is a very beautifully written articles, a very mains prospectively written articles this is. Okay, however, there are few facts that can be asked in the exam directly, so you should know about these facts as well from the prelims point of view. So let us discuss what are the important points that the author brings out regarding India and UAE relationship. Okay, so the first point the author talks about is the convergence of ideas regarding climate change. Okay, regarding climate change, both India and UAE have been a staunch proponents of fighting against global warming, and in this regard, in COP28, both India and UAE launched Global Green Credit Scheme. So both together have launched something called Global Green Credit Scheme. That in turn will help increase the liquidity for financing climate technologies. So that is the first step the author tells, shows that we have convergence when it comes to our fight against climate change. The second the author talks about is economic partnership. Again, very important point the author has given regarding the economic partnership between India and UAE. One, he says the bilateral trade. The bilateral trade is almost $85 billion. That is the first one. The second is UAE is India's third largest trading partner. It is the third largest trading partner. The next is UAE is India's second largest export destination. It is the second largest export destination, and UAE is fourth largest investor in India. Okay, now as I told you, these stats can be asked directly in the statement wise questions in prelims as well. So you need not always confine yourself to mains only. Have this knowledge even in prelims. Okay, however, very good points this is. With regard to economic partnership, the author tells us we have a bilateral trade of up to $85 billion. India is the third largest trading partner. UAE is India's third largest trading partner, and UAE is India's second largest export destination, as well as UAE is the fourth largest investor in India. Okay, and the third is the author talks about India and UAE comprehensive economic partnership agreement. Now this comprehensive economic partnership agreement, it was signed in 2022. It was signed in a record time. It was signed in a record time of just 88 days. It was signed in a record time of just 88 days. And the main objective of this CEPA, that is Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, is to increase the bilateral trade. To increase the bilateral trade by $115 billion. To increase the bilateral trade by $115 billion in the next 5 years. That is by 2027. So it was signed in 2022. So in 5 years, it is a target to reach the bilateral trade to $115 billion. So that is what is this Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement. However, this agreement was signed in a record time of 88 days. That shows the convergence as well as mutual respect between India and UAE. So that's the third point. The next is coming to the RuPay. Okay, RuPay, as you know, is India's digital public infrastructure. And this RuPay is accepted in UAE. This RuPay is accepted in UAE since 2019. That is another important sharing or coordination between the two countries. Also, India and UAE has operationalized rupee and dirham settlement system. They have operationalized rupee and dirham settlement system. Okay, so this is about the RuPay part. So that is the fourth point. It talks about how India's digital public infrastructure is used by UAE. That is another advantage for India. The next is, if you take energy security, UAE is the only Gulf country. It is the only Gulf country to have invested in India's strategic oil reserve. It is the only Gulf country to have invested in India's strategic oil reserves. So basically, it has invested several $million in the strategic oil reserve that we have set up near Mangaluru in Karnataka. So that is another important point, and you should also see that only Gulf nation, okay, to invest in the Indian strategic oil reserves of storing oil in India. Okay, so UAE is the only nation. That is another important point. The sixth point is geostrategic ties. Even in geostrategic ties, India and UAE are bound together. One, the author says that India is part of I2U2, that's India and Israel, UAE and USA. So even in this geopolitical grouping, which is known as Middle East Quad, so even in this, India and UAE are bound together. Also, there is a new project that was launched in the aftermath of G20 summit, and this was known as India Middle East European Economic Corridor, which is known as IMEC. So here also India and UAE play a very important role. Okay, so these are some of the very good important points between the importance of India and UAE partnership. To just reiterate, we have convergence with respect to fight against climate change. So we have launched global green credit scheme. With regards to economic partnership, we have a bilateral trade of $85 billion. UAE is India's third largest trading partner, second largest export destination, and fourth largest investor in India. India and UAE has signed something called CEPA, that is in 2022. This CEPA was signed in the record time of just 88 days of negotiation. And the bilateral trade, according to the CEPA, is to improve by $115 billion in 5 years. The next is the RuPay card, that is India's digital public infrastructure, is also popularized in UAE. It's accepted since 2019, and they've also operationalized Rupee Dirham settlement system. With respect to energy security, UAE is the only Gulf nation to have invested its money in Indian strategic oil reserve of storing oil in India. And also with respect to geostrategic ties, India is bound with UAE with respect to I2U2 as well as India Middle East European Economic Corridor. Okay, so overall, if you see this relationship of India and UAE, it shows two things. One is, as you saw, convergence of ideas as well as mutual respect. Okay, mutual respect. Now, what is the concluding remark that the author gives is, UAE has always held India at a very high pedestal. How do we know this is, in 2019, there is something called Organization of, this is OIC. This OIC in 2019, it had held a foreign ministers meet. Organization of Islamic Cooperation. Really sorry, I just lost it from the mind. So in 2019, then there was OIC, that is Organization of Islamic Cooperation. There was a foreign ministers meet. And in this foreign ministers meet, UAE was the country that invited our external affairs minister, late Sushma Swaraj. Okay, even the Pakistan had opposed this move, but UAE had overridden that opposition or protest, and it called upon our external affairs minister to attend this session of foreign ministers meet of Organization of Islamic Cooperation in 2019. Okay, so this can be used as a conclusion to show how UAE has always respected and held mutual respect and has held India at a high pedestal in the global geopolitics of the world. So a very good article, as I told you, it can be used to just replicate. The points are so good that you can directly replicate these in your answers. Okay, also the facts can be important, that can be again reflected in your prelims exam. Also know that, and also please learn what is this global green credit scheme of COP28. I have done this previously in one of the videos. You can research that as well as learn about it. Okay, so this is about the first issue. The second issue is again a very good article. This article is talking about two things. One, it has given very good fodder points about a program called Ayushman Bharat. It has given in Ayushman Bharat there is something called Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. Okay, so this particular article has given very good pointers about Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, and also this article has given very good fodder points about ASHA workers. Okay, overall this article does good regarding GS2. It gives you ample amount of scope to write about health. It gives scope to write about governance. It also gives scope to write about bottom-up approach. Okay, so it also gives scope to write about participatory democracy. Okay, so very good articles like this. You have to always make a note of these statistics that can directly be used in your mains exam also. Okay, so before I decipher about this ASHA workers, let me just read out these 8 lines. Over 3 lakh ASHA workers apply for center's health cover. So let me just give you a background of what is happening in the interim budget. In the interim budget of 2024-25 that happened. So our finance minister announced that within our Ayushman Bharat, we have a component called Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. So our finance minister announced that this Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana will cover both Anganwadi workers as well as Anganwadi helpers. It includes both Anganwadi workers as well as Anganwadi helpers. So this inclusion of these Anganwadi workers and helpers has created what we call as inclusive democracy. Okay, it has created something called inclusive growth, because this Anganwadi workers and helpers together will come up to almost 23 lakh workers in India, and these are women workers. Okay, so they need this health insurance cover, and announcing this Ayushman Bharat to cover, that is Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, to cover this Anganwadi workers is a very important initiative taken by our government to create a security, a sense of health security amongst women workers in India, especially in rural areas. Okay, so again a good article. Now let me just decipher. In this article they have given about 2 aspects. So let me just first talk about Ayushman Bharat. Okay, so basically Ayushman Bharat is towards universalizing the healthcare access. Okay, universal healthcare, to creating towards this universal healthcare is what you have the Ayushman Bharat. In this Ayushman Bharat you have 2 components. One component is Health and Wellness Center. One is Health and Wellness Center, that is known as HWC, and the other is Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. Okay, so this Health and Wellness Centers basically focuses upon the primary health care. It basically focuses upon primary health care, whereas this Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana focuses upon secondary and tertiary health care. Secondary and tertiary health care. And this Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana is nothing but an health insurance cover. It is an health insurance cover, and this health insurance cover is given as much as 5 lakh per year per family. That is the health insurance cover given. Okay, and this cover is given to almost 55 crore individuals. It is given to 55 crore individuals. That comes up to around 12 crore families. That comes up to around 12 crore families. Okay, now as I told you, the reason why we are studying this is this Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana now covers Anganwadi workers as well as Anganwadi helpers. So they themselves will come up to around 23 lakh workers across India, especially in rural areas. Okay, now some important statistics that the author has given regarding this scheme that you can use in your answers are, so first is regarding Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. Regarding this, some important facts that the author has given is, so this is according to the government report. The author cites the government report. According to this, the government has created approximately 28.45 crores Ayushman cards. Okay, the government has created 28.45 28.45 crores Ayushman cards, and it has almost had total of 6.11 crore hospital admissions. See, from the launch of this scheme, around 28.45 crores Ayushman cards have been given out, and 6.11 crore hospital admissions have happened up to December 2023. That shows that it has been a very successful scheme. The second is, in the same period, there has been 26,901 hospitals that have been included, and amongst them there is 11,813 private hospitals. Okay, now this is the total number of hospitals that is empaneled under Ayushman Bharat Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. Empaneled means these are the hospitals that will consider the Ayushman cards, and they will give that insurance cover, and then they will claim it by sending it to the government. So 26,901 hospitals across India, including the private hospitals of around 11,000, are covered under Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. Again, you don't have to exactly know the number of 901 and 813. Just because I have access to the book, I am giving you the exact figures. In your exam, you can just write approximately 26,000, approximately 11,000. That is more than enough. You don't have to worry about it. Okay, but you should be close to the figure. You cannot completely lie. That is very wrong. Please don't lie. But you can definitely be close to the figure. Okay, the third, a very important point that the author also brings into point about this Yojana is the gender equity. So in this, under gender equity, the author says that women account to 49% of the total Ayushman cards. Women account almost 49% of the total Ayushman cards, and they account 48% of the total hospital admissions that has happened till now. That is up to December 2023. So this shows that almost 50% of the beneficiaries of Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana have been women. So that is again a very good thing that women are making use of this program. Okay, that is why it makes more sense when ASHA workers are included under this program. Okay, so to reiterate the facts, very good facts, by the end of December 2023, these are some of the achievements of Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. That is, 28.45 crore Ayushman cards have been dispersed. A total of 6.11 crore hospital admissions has been done. 26,901 hospitals with in which 11,813 private hospitals are empaneled under this Yojana. And gender equity is more or less seen in this Yojana because 49% of total Ayushman cards dispersed and 48% of the total admissions in the hospital are women. Okay, so this shows that the scheme has been successful, and two, it has helped women considerably. Now, these facts can be used in your GS2. Again, you need not wait for them to ask about this fact. You can use it in the realm of governance. You can also use it in the realm of how it is helping bring about gender equity. You can also use it in trying to talk about how insurance penetration will help in India. So in this way, you can use these facts proactively to show how government is working ground up at the grassroots level to improve its effectiveness of the healthcare ecosystem. Okay, so this is about the Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. Okay, now the author also gives a little very good further points about ASHA workers. Okay, so basically ASHA workers are accredited social health activists. They are accredited social health activists. Okay, and they are employed under Ministry of Health and Family Welfare under National Rural Livelihood Mission. National Rural Health Mission. Really sorry. Okay, so ASHA workers are accredited social health activists. They are employed under Ministry of Health and Family Welfare under the scheme of National Rural Health Mission. So this concept of ASHA workers began in 2002. However, it was fully implemented in 2012. Okay, sorry, it began in 2005. I'm really sorry, making a lot of mistakes today. It was implemented in 2005. I'm sorry, it was actually started. This concept was started in 2005 and it was fully implemented in 2012. Okay, so that is about ASHA workers. One more very important from the prelims point of view is this ASHA workers, they are employed by Ministry of Health and Family Welfare under National Rural Health Mission. They have to be women. Okay, they have to be women, and this women can be either married or they can be widow or they have to be divorced. So the point is they cannot be unmarried women. Okay, so ASHA workers has to be women, and either they have to be married, widow or divorced. They cannot be unmarried women. So that is another information from prelims perspective. Okay, now about ASHA workers, some very good fodder points that the author has given that you can directly write in the exam is according to Health Ministry. Okay, according to Health Ministry, so you have over 13 lakh Anganwadi workers. You have 13 lakh Anganwadi workers, and you have around 10 lakh Anganwadi helpers. You have 10 lakh Anganwadi helpers. So this together will come up to almost 23 lakh workers. Okay. Now these 23 lakh workers are now covered under Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. The second is this 23 lakh workers comes up to the world's largest community volunteer program. Okay, it comes up to the world's largest community volunteer program. Okay, and the third thing the author says they are the cornerstone. This Anganwadi workers are the cornerstone for National Health Mission. Okay, as you know, they played a very vital role during the COVID pandemic, and they are the cornerstone for the success of National Health Mission. The author also says that they are facilitators, mobilizers, as well as providers of community health care. Okay, I'll repeat, they are facilitators, mobilizers and providers of community health care. Okay, and these ASHA workers have played an important role in community programs. These ASHA workers have played an important role in community programs such as one Mahila Arogya Samiti. They have played an important role in Mahila Arogya Samiti. Okay. The second is village health and sanitation committees. Village health and sanitation committees. And they also play a role in community based planning and monitoring. Community based planning and monitoring under National Health Mission. Okay, so these are the three areas in community programs where the ASHA workers have played a very important role. So just to summarize the ASHA workers, they are known as accredited social health activists. They are employed by the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare under the National Rural Health Mission. The concept came about in 2005 and it was fully implemented in 2012. ASHA workers have to be women. They can either be married, widow or divorced. And according to the author has given this is the analysis part. So the analysis part is according to the Health Ministry. According to the Health Ministry, there are over 13 lakh Anganwadi workers and 10 lakh Anganwadi helpers. Together they come up to 23 lakh as the overall number. And this accounts to the world's largest community volunteer program. They are the cornerstone for the National Health Mission. And they act as facilitators, mobilizers and providers of community health care. And they play a very important role in community programs such as one Mahila Arogya Samiti, the second is village health and sanitation committees, and the third is community based planning and monitoring under the National Health Mission. Okay, again this is a very good article. It talks about two different aspects very beautifully. One is ASHA workers and the other is Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. A very informative article. Please use this in your GS2. It is actually a very good point that they have given. Okay, so let us move to the next concept. The next concept is where Urban Ministry was told to amend bylaws for easy accessibility to the disabled. So let me give you a background of what is happening. This was a review meeting. It was a review meeting for a campaign called Accessibility Campaign. It is a campaign called Accessibility India Campaign. Accessibility India Campaign. This Accessible India Campaign means Sugamya, Bharat, Abhiyan. Accessible India campaign, which is Sugamya Bharat Abhiyan. So this review meeting happened under the chairmanship of, it was chaired by Cabinet Secretary. It was chaired by Cabinet Secretary. Okay, so in this review meeting that was chaired by Cabinet Secretary, that was reviewing the improvement in Accessible India program or Accessible India campaign, which is also called Sugamya Bharat Abhiyan. Here the decision was taken that the urban ministry was to amend bylaws for easy accessibility to the disabled. So that was the decision taken by this review meeting. But apart from this, what is important is you need to understand this program called Accessible India program. Okay, Accessible India campaign. What is this Accessible India campaign or Sugamya Bharat Abhiyan? Okay, so if you take the Accessible India campaign, the objective of Accessible India campaign was to create universal accessibility, to people with disability. Okay, and by creating universal accessibility, you are making sure that persons with disability can participate equally in all aspects of life. That is the main job or the objective of Accessible India campaign or Sugamya Bharat Abhiyan. Okay, so the objective is to create a universal accessibility for persons with disabilities so that they can participate and live all aspects of life. Okay, now this Accessible India campaign comes under the Department of Empowerment of Persons with Disabilities, and this department is under the Ministry of Social Justice. Okay, again, this Accessible India campaign, it is launched by, or the this particular program is looked after by the Department of Empowerment of Persons with Disabilities under Ministry of Social Justice. Okay, the next is this Accessible India campaign works on bringing accessibility on 3 verticals. It talks about bringing accessibility along 3 verticals. The first is physical environment, that is in terms of buildings. With respect to buildings, how to bring accessibility to persons with disability, that's the first vertical they work on. So basically the first target is they are focusing on government buildings. By improving accessibility of government buildings, it will set an example for others also to design it in the same manner. So the first vertical is physical environment. The second vertical is transportation system. Again, they are working on improving the accessibility of persons with disabilities with public transport. By improving that accessibility, that can set an example for others at the private level also to inculcate this designs. So that is the second vertical. And the third vertical is information and communication technology. Okay, so this is basically for those people who cannot see or who are having problems with their vision or their hearing problem. So in those manners, by improving the information and communication ecosystem that can help the disabled, that is again the third vertical that it is working on. So Accessible India campaign works on 3 verticals. One is physical environment, the second is transportation, and the third is digital environment, that is information and communication technology. Okay, now why is Accessible India campaign important is because India has signed something called United Nations Convention. It has something called United Nations Convention on Protection of Rights of Persons with Disabilities. So this is called United Nations Convention on Protection of Rights of Persons with Disabilities. So India is a signatory of this UNCRPD. Now in UNCRPD there is something called Article 9. And this Article 9 makes it an obligation on the state. It makes it an obligation on the state in order to have appropriate measures to provide accessibility to the disabled people. Okay, so this Article 9 is making it obligatory or it is making it mandatory. Alright, so this is one of the reason why Accessible India campaign is very, very important. Another reason is we have something called Persons with Disabilities Act 1995. Okay, this Persons of Disability Act 1995, we have section 44, 45 and 46. These section 44, 45 and 46 make sure all states are required to provide non-discriminatory access All states are required to provide non-discriminatory access to transport, road and built up environment. So each section is talking about one thing: transportation, road and built up environment. So all states are required to provide non-discriminatory access to transport, road and built up environment according to the Persons with Disability Act 1995. So accessible India campaign, it becomes obligatory even at the international level, and it becomes obligatory even at the statutory level. And for this, there is a constant endeavor to make sure that the accessibility of the persons with disabled is improved along the three verticals of physical environment, transportation as well as the digital environment. So I hope you understood what is Accessible India campaign and what are the rules that makes it obligatory on India to work on this Accessible India campaign or the Sugamya Bharat Abhiyan. Okay, so I hope it is helpful. Again, these are very important both from prelims as well as mains perspective. So understand these programs. What is inside the program is useful for prelims. What is the status of the program is important for mains. This is how you have to decide within current affairs government programs. Okay, now the next article is again a government program. Okay, very beautiful articles have come in the last 2 days, so you should get a very good knowledge about these programs. The next is Pradhan Mantri SVANidhi. Okay, SVANidhi means the street Pradhan Mantri's street vendors Atmanirbhar Nidhi. Street vendors Atmanirbhar Nidhi. Okay, so this PM SVANidhi, okay, has boosted the annual income of street vendors by 23,000. That is again a huge success. Okay, see, these are the statistics that you can use. You need not wait for them to ask in SVANidhi. You can use it in GS1, you can use it in GS2, as well as you can use it in ethics. You can also use it in your essay. Okay, so use these facts at your discretion, but have that smartness to use it at a proper place at a proper time. That is all you want. And if you want to develop that use of proper space at proper time, you have to practice. So keep practicing by using these facts. If you don't practice, then you will not be able to memorize so much of fact. The only thing is you have to day in and day out keep writing answers using the facts that I am trying to give you. So the more you write the answers by using the facts that I give you, you will internalize those facts, and that facts will automatically be used by you to justify other dimensions also. Okay, so I have told you time and again, the questions in mains are becoming more and more opinionated, and if you have to provide opinions, you have to justify that opinion with facts. And I am giving you plethora of facts around wide areas in your papers that you can use in your mains answers. So please make sure that you are tuned in and you make note of all the facts that comes in this particular news in 30 minutes. Okay, again a very good article that talks about the success of PM SVANidhi, that is Street Vendors Atmanirbhar Nidhi. Okay, first, before I get into the status, let me talk about the program. So program is, what is this program is important from prelims perspective. Okay, and obviously the status is important from mains perspective. So one, this program comes under Union Ministry. It comes under Union Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. It comes under Union Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. This was launched in 2020 during COVID pandemic. Okay, so this is basically to improve the livelihood of street vendors. And the main job of this is to offer working capital loans. To provide working capital loans to street vendors. So that is the main job of this PM SVANidhi, so that the street vendors can develop Atmanirbharta or self-sufficiency. So how do you offer the working capital loans is, to begin with, a beneficiary is offered 10,000 rupees. The beneficiary can use this 10,000 rupees. If the beneficiary will repay this loan in 1 year successfully, then the same beneficiary can avail rupees 20,000. And if this beneficiary will repay the loan in 1 year successfully, then the same beneficiary can avail the loan of 50,000. Okay, so this, with the repayment, there is building of trust, It shows that that particular street vendor is credit worthy, and because the street vendor is very credit worthy, the sum is increased from 10,000 to 20,000 the second time, and from 20,000 to 50,000 the third time. So this is how the working capital is offered at a very affordable rate to the street vendors, which the street vendors can be used, with the street vendors can use for their business investment. Okay, so I hope you understood what is this program from prelims perspective. Okay, now coming to the mains perspective, if you take PM SVANidhi, the Ministry of Urban Affairs has conducted or has commissioned a study. The Ministry of Urban Affairs has commissioned a study, and this study was done by Indian School of Business, Hyderabad. But all this is not important. You just have to know, according to the Ministry of Urban Affairs commissioned study, these are some of the important outcomes that have been released. The first is 94% of the beneficiaries, 94% of the beneficiaries who availed the first loan. The first loan is rupees 10,000. So 94% of the beneficiaries who availed the first loan actually used it for business investments, which is again a very, very good thing, because other 6% used it for consumption, whereas 94% of the beneficiaries used the first loan that they took for 10,000 as business investments, and this 94% will go to 98% if you take the second loan. So those people who have taken the second loan, 98% of them have used it for business investment, which shows that this is a very important intervention made at the bottom level by the government. Okay, the second point is the first loan taken resulted in the additional income, to street vendors, by rupees 1,955 per month or rupees 23,400 per year during 1 year of loan duration. Look how, by giving just 10,000 rupees as the loan, that individual has created an additional income of 23,000 rupees in 1 year, which again shows how poor people need that necessary push or nudge so that they can become self-sufficient. This shows that the Atmanirbharta in SVANidhi has worked. Again, a very, very good statistics that you can use in your answers. The third one is, according to the study, only 13.9% of all loans, that has been dispersed has become non-performing assets. Non-performing assets means those that have not been received any type of payments for more than 3 months. Okay, so no interest payments. Okay, so only 13% have turned into non-performing assets. And the fourth is another very proud moment, that is, if you take the debt to income ratio, okay, the debt to income ratio of the beneficiaries comes up to 9%. Okay, that is again very low. What is this debt to income ratio? It means for 100 rupees income, okay, you have 9 rupees debt. Okay, so converting it into percentage terms, you have 9%. Okay, so you have only 9 rupees debt for every 100 rupees income. That shows that the debt to income is very low, which is actually good. When debt to income is very low, which is good, because this shows that the beneficiaries have very high credit worthiness. Okay, so again, this is a proud moment. So all this shows, one, working at the bottom up approach works. Giving that small micro credit actually helps in improving the lives of these poor street vendors in a very large way. Okay, and this has definitely created what we call as Atmanirbharta in the street vendor's life. Okay, this is a very effective tool to remove poverty at grassroots levels, especially in urban areas. So to reiterate the points again, this PMJAY as the Ministry of Urban Affairs have commissioned a study according to which 94% of the beneficiaries who have taken the first loan have invested in business investments, and it moves up to 98% in the second loan. The second is the first loan taken has resulted in creating an additional income of almost 23,000 per year. The third is 13.9% loans only have resulted in non-performing assets. The debt to income ratio is very low, that is up to 9%, which is very, very good because it shows the beneficiaries have a very high credit worthiness. Okay, all this shows that PMJAY has been successful. Another program that we have discussed, what is the program and what is the status of the program. What is the program from prelims perspective? What is the status of the program from mains perspective? So I hope it was helpful. Okay, let us go on to the next issue of the day. The next issue is Nazool land. Because of a recent violence that happened in the Uttarakhand region of Haldwani, this Nazool land was something that was in news. So you should understand what is this Nazool land. Okay, so this Nazool land is basically a land that is owned by the government. That is the first point. The Nazool land is owned by the government. The second point is it is not directly administered by the government. It is not directly administered by the government. It is owned by the government but not directly administered by the government. The third is why it is not directly administered by the government is generally this land is allotted in the form of lease to different entities. It is allotted in the form of lease to different entities for a fixed period, and the fixed period will vary from 15 years to 99 years. Okay, so this is why the government does not directly administer the Nazool land. So it is owned by the government. It is not directly administered by the government because it is allotted as lease to different entities under fixed period of 15 years to 99 years. Now the next is in case of expiry of term. In case of expiry of term, now that entity must go and approach the authority and provide a written application. That the entity must provide a written application for renewal of this particular lease. Now when this application is made, it is up to the government discretion. It is up to the government's discretion to allow renewal or to not allow renewal. Okay, so after the expiry of the term, the entity has to approach the authority and apply a written application for the renewal, and it is up to the government's discretion to allow renewal or not allow renewal. Okay, if it does not allow renewal, then it is up to the government to take back the Nazool land. Okay, because the Nazool land becomes, or why the government can take back it is because it is owned by the government at the end of the day. The government will only lease it out. The government will never change the ownership of the land. The ownership will always be with the government. So at the expiry of the term, even if the government will not renew the lease, the government can take back the land. Okay, now usually this Nazool land is used by the government for public purposes. Okay, it is used by the the government for public purposes like building schools, creating parks, building hospitals. Also what the government does is it also gives this to different entities. Okay, now the Nazool land is governed by something called the Nazool Lands Transfer Rules 1956. So this is the legislation, or this is the rules under which the Nazool land is governed. Okay, so this is it. The next is why did this Nazool land come into picture? Okay, now why did this Nazool land emerge? The story is like this: when the English fought against the princely states, they took over some amount of land. Okay, now post independence, this land could not be given back to the princely state. It could not be given back to the princely state because there was no proper documentation to the land. Because there was no proper documentation to this land, the government decided to keep this land with itself. Hence, the government became the owner of this land, and the government termed this land as Nazool land. So these are all the lands that were brought under the ambit of the government post independence, which were erstwhile under the control of the British. Okay, so I hope you understood this. So let me just give you a summary of what is Nazool land. One, Nazool land is owned by the government. It is not directly administered by the government because they are generally allotted to lease to different entities for a fixed period of 15 to 99 years. After the expiry of the term, the entity has to approach the authority and give a written application for the renewal of this. The government has the discretion to allow renewal or not allow renewal. If it does not allow it, the government has the right to take back the land, because at the end of the day, the government is the owner of the land. It is basically, the Nazool land is used for public purposes, especially schools, parks, hospitals, and it is also given to other separate third-party entities that can use on their own. Nazool land is regulated by Nazool Land Transfer Rules 1956, and the reason why these land emerged is because they were erstwhile land of the English, which they had taken while fighting wars with the princely states. Post independence, these lands stayed with the government because the princely states lacked proper documentation to claim the land, and these lands are termed as Nazool land. Okay, so I hope you understood this concept of Nazool land that was in news because of the violence that happened in Haldwani. Okay, so I hope you understood these concepts. Again, very beautifully written articles that you can use in your both prelims as well as mains. If you have loved this video, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe, guys. Please make sure that you share this with your friends and help them also make use of this program. I hope you liked this video. I hope you are enriching your content with these videos. If yes, please comment the whatever usefulness of this video has been in your preparation. Thank you so much, guys. I'll meet you next time. Bye.